Hey everyone, Aaron here. Just ahead of the podcast, let you know that we did have a few technical difficulties in the recording process, namely some audio skips during the first, I want to say, maybe 15-20 minutes, especially on my end. Not sure what happened. It wasn't an internet issue, it was literally a software, hardware issue of some kind. Looking into getting that figured out here as soon as possible. So some of the words I'm going to say during the podcast will actually be cut off a little bit. Apologies for any kind of inconsistencies there. But the overall stuff is still pretty good, so thank you for listening and hope you enjoy the show. Man, it sure is groovy here in the 70s, ain't it, Ryan?
Hell yeah, it is! Welcome to evacstation's Scream, where we talk about the latest films hitting your local theaters on WKRP 36.9.
That's right, man, and it's 1973. It's been a full year of killer films. But I don't think anyone was ready for how big a hit that Exorcist thing was. Did you see that crazy thing yet?
Whoa, where am I?
Zoinks! Who are you, man?
Yeah, I'm calling security.
No, wait. This is gonna sound crazy, but I'm Robbie, and I'm from the future.
Yep, I'm still calling security.
Wait, Ryan, listen. I came from the future because something happens on this day that will change evacstation forever. And in 2019, you guys will be responsible for the world being overrun by machines.
How the hell are we even responsible for that, man?
Because you didn't get enough of sponsors on patreon.com/evacstation.
Patreon.com/evacstation?
I've heard of that, man. For only $1 a month, which in 1973 could buy you a whole lunch or a stack of comics. You could support ours further in 2019.
How have you heard something from 2019?
Because that's not really Aaron. He's been replaced by a mutant who wants to make sure this channel fails.
And I would have gotten away with it too, man, if it weren't for you pesky time travelers. I'm gonna unleash at least 1% of my true power to show you.
Well, then I guess everyone should head over to patreon.com/evacstation as soon as they hear this. Whether it's 1973 or 2019. We'll take care of whatever's going on with Aaron here. You guys go ahead and enjoy the show. Welcome back to the future with the After Credits cast. Time is a little wonky here, as it always is, but everything should be fine now that we have the whole party here. I'm Aaron J. Wolverine, and with me today I'm joined by Ryan Magnificent. I have a cool guest. Your time.
Oh, and I have a cool guest this week, Robbie Iceman Drake.
Glad to be back.
Good to have you back, man.
Absolutely.
And before I get too far, this week's intro theme, in case anyone's been listening, we've been doing various intro themes, remixing the original X-Men theme song, and this week's was the X-Men animated theme, or animated series theme by Epic version, which is what it's called on YouTube, by the
L'Orchestra Cinematique. And I have a link in the description down below for all you guys. It is one of my favorites we've done this season. The jazz one, though, is a pretty tough one to beat.
Absolutely. I love that theme.
And of course, links are down below for our Tumblr, Twitter, or Facebook to comment and follow us on the various social media platforms. You can also go to your platform of choice, including YouTube, Peepa, iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, TuneIn, and Podcast Addict to follow our show. Also, give us reviews on those platforms. It helps us get more views. And last but certainly not least, you can also reach out to us on our email to let us know your thoughts and have any questions you might have. Ryan, what is that email?
That email is fucking shapeshifting sentinels at gmail. Excuse me. That is evacstation@gmail.com.
And like we always do, we'll go on to our first segment here, which is What You Watching, which is where we catch up with what we've been watching the past week. Gentlemen, what have you been watching?
Robbie, it's been so long since we've heard from you, man. How have you been? What have you been watching?
Yeah, man. It's good to be back on. I actually just recorded my podcast before I got onto this podcast, so it's a big podcasting night for me. What have I been watching? Game of Thrones. Are you serious? It finally came back after what felt like an eternity, so glad to have that back. I can't wait for next Sunday. It's going to be very, very, very epic. So
it's going to be very, very, very sad.
It's very sad and epic. It's going to be all the things because, man, they were hitting us in the feels in the last episode. So it's going to be good. I'm really excited. Excited for that.
We got entirely too many positive things the last two episodes.
I know.
Like, all right, they're just gearing us up. They're like,
oh, man.
I hope you've enjoyed these guys for the past 8 seasons.
Yeah.
This is their swan song now.
So, yeah, they're just setting up for what should be, sobbing after the episode next week, I think. But I'm excited regardless because it should be an epic episode of a great battle. So
Me too.
that's what I've
Me
been
too.
watching and obsessed with. So what about you guys?
Well, I decided actually to go in the way back machine, or not too way back, but I've been rewatching some of my old favorites and introducing my girlfriend Allegra to them. One of which that we checked out was The Prestige. We were on a bit of a magician's kick.
That's a damn good movie.
Yeah, that's my jam. I love Christopher Nolan and I love his work, so I decided to kind of pitch that at her. She liked it. I think it was just disturbing enough to really get her into it because she's into pretty disturbing things. My lovely girlfriend. But yeah, no, I think she really dug it, and it's always a treat for me to watch that movie again.
Oh yeah,
it's been way too long since I've seen it.
And what a great twist too in that movie. It blew me away.
Twist. Oh.
Yeah.
I can go real quick.
How about you, Aaron?
Yeah. I have been laying low on the watching things front right now. Been a bit busy working on podcasts, house hunting, all that stuff. I found some time this past weekend, as Ryan can probably guess, on my Smash Bros. Game.
How are you liking Joker, sir?
Yep. So for those who are not 100% sure what we're talking about, because it's coming out obviously way later than the DLC but came out. There was DLC released for Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, which was Joker from Persona 5. And if anyone knows me, you know Persona 5 is like my top 5 games of all time. So it was fucking great to fucking play that character in that game. And so, quick breakdown. He is a very technical fighter, and he has a move called Rebel's Gauge, where he takes damage, but he can also use this move as a pseudo counter, I guess. And it lets him build up this gauge to then unleash his persona. For those who aren't familiar with the game series, it's kind of like the JoJo stands from JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. and it gives them an extra few hitboxes, gives them some better special damage output and area of effect. Overall, it's a really interesting moveset. I do like his non-Persona moveset where he has a grapple hook, because it's kind of fun to grapple enemies who are up on higher platforms in the stage and then pull them down to combo on them even more. It's fucking evil, but great. And he's got a good edgeguard game. So, yeah, a lot of fun.
All right.
I've been doing a lot of training with him, and I feel like I'm getting pretty good. Not, like, overwhelmingly good, but decent enough where I can hold up against David, probably. But also, feeling out the stage builder a little bit, having some fun with that.
Ooh.
Yep, they added a stage builder in the update, and the stages I've been building so far, I did a box stage, because that's, everyone starts with the box stage. And then I did a few stages based on various videos, including the boss fights from not Dark Souls, but the boss fights from Persona 5, and a boss fight from Dark Souls, actually, the first one. So, yeah.
Ooh, okay. Which boss?
They're a little janky. I did the Bell Gargoyle boss fight because I like the idea of having characters fight on a roof with high winds, and it's pretty cool.
I like it, sir.
Yep. I tried to do a stage where there's high winds coming from below to levitate platforms that are, like, not bound in place. The problem with that, though, is the platforms I put down that were affected by gravity, they just fell. The winds did nothing. I'm like, oh, that would have been so cool to have floating platforms.
Yeah, no doubt, man. That's cool.
It's something I'm going to play around with more. Fun stuff.
Yeah, it sounds a lot of fun.
Oh, yeah. And by the time this comes out, I'm guessing the next DLC character will have been announced and even maybe released. So looking forward to hearing what that's going to be. Really hoping it'll be someone cool. Fingers crossed it's Waluigi.
Yeah.
Speaking of getting fingers crossed, let's go ahead and move on to the episode today, which is going to be over Days of Future Past. The Disneymation, which is what we're calling this season, is almost over. Just a few films left before we say goodbye to the Fox X-Men franchise forever. Today, Days of Future Past, directed by the alleged pedophile Bryan Singer. Oh boy, he's back again. And written by Simon Kinberg and Jane Goldman. The film would go on to earn approximately $748,121,000, which is 3 times the estimated budget, likely due to our cast comprised of X-Men from all parts of the franchise. This is a pretty big crossover. We got, did I write down? I don't know if this is accurate here. I have Boo Boo Stewart at the beginning of the name. I'm like, is that really a name I put there, or is that a joke name I put there? I don't know. Main fan, we have Daniel Cudmore, Omar Sy, Sean Ashmore, Halle Berry, Nicholas Hoult, Peter Dinklage, Jennifer Lawrence, Michael Fassbender, Ian McKellen, James McAvoy, Patrick Stewart, not Boo Boo, Hugh Jackman, Evan Peel, who is not actually using her actual powers, Ellen Page.
Oh, we're gonna talk. We're gonna talk about that.
Yep, we have words for that. I have words for that myself. Oh, and if you squint, you might see Anna Paquin somewhere in this film. A rogue cut of sorts, you might say.
I see what you did there.
That's good.
This film did win some notable awards, including Best Sci-Fi Fantasy from the Empire Awards UK, the Best Action Sequence and Most Memorable Scene from the Golden Schmoes, the Golden Actress to Halle Berry from the Huading Award. Not sure if I'm pronouncing that right. The Best International Film from the Jupiter Awards, and Favorite Female Action Star to Jennifer Lawrence from the Kids' Choice Awards, and the Choice Movie Actress from the Teen Choice Awards.
Huh.
Alright.
So nothing super prestigious, but it's awards. I'll take them. Why not?
Best international film. Okay. Alright.
Ryan, what are some fun facts you got for me?
Interesting.
Alright, fun. It's time for fun facts. Alright, well, Bryan Singer filmed Quicksilver scenes in a special format of 3,600 frames per second. That means that Quicksilver moved 150 times faster than normal. The camera was used to record close-ups and the movements of Evan Peters, as well as the guards he beat, which we'll get to that scene because that's absolutely one of the crown gems of the movie. But well done, sir. Well done on that.
Oh yeah.
Next up, Sir Patrick Stewart and Sir Ian McKellen were performing a touring production of Waiting for Godot when Bryan Singer approached the actors about reprising their respective roles as Professor X and Magneto. Now, according to McKellen, both men were utterly shocked as they thought they had passed on their roles to James McAvoy and Michael Fassbender and would never play the characters again. Stewart and McKellen were delighted to return to two of their most popular roles and to work with the younger actors playing the characters as well. As much as many contrivances were taken to get that to work on screen, I still love those interactions. I still love that scene. So again, we'll get there.
Oh yeah.
And last but not least, Bishop is the first mutant that Kitty Pryde sends through time. This is an homage to Bishop being a frequent time traveler in the X-Men comics. So
yeah, Bishop.
We got to see a little bit of him. I'm happy for that.
Those are our fun facts right there. Robbie, what are your initial thoughts before we dive into this one?
Sure. I know we're gonna dive, further into this movie. I enjoyed it in the sense of this X-Men universe. I thought it was one of the better films overall in the X-Men film universe. Days of Future Past is a very interesting storyline, which I enjoyed the cartoon version of it when I was a kid. And I thought it was a really, really cool concept. There's a lot of very fun, interesting fan servicey scenes in here. There was some really good performances, and I love that they combined the old cast and the new cast. It was just a really cool crossover to do that. There is a lot of problems with this film. Not as much as the next film, but we'll get to that at a different time.
Save your anger.
Sorry. I'll pull it back to this. But I just want to stay positive with my initial thoughts. Like, it was a fun film. I enjoyed watching it again. And they used Wolverine in a good way, even though the way he got sent back is not accurate at all. But that's not the point. I thought that was cool to tie him back. Since,
feel it.
Yeah, I know. But tying him back to the past, since he already lived that, I thought was really cool. So I enjoyed the film, and I enjoyed watching it again. So that's my initial thoughts.
I'll pipe in real quick. I think it's a fine film. I think that certain parts of it, like the Quicksilver scene we're going to get to in a little bit, are really good. But I do feel it's a bit loaded with too many characters, which it's a big group. It's a bigger story, bigger narrative. I understand that a bit. But it also feels a bit nonsensical at times, and I will definitely dive into that a bit more when we get there.
All right. Well, I'll go real quick. I think the movie has some really great set pieces, some really great performances from actors, but I think the overall plot is so contrived, and it like, when I say contrived, I mean like it bends over backwards to set this up in a way that just barely seems like it needs to happen this way. It just barely seems necessary in order to get all of these things in, so you could have this huge crossover event. I really like a lot of the aspects of it, but all of the hoops that it has to jump through to even make this seem semi-plausible turned me off.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Speaking of plot stuff that makes it that needs to be seen plausible, should we jump into the synopsis here?
Indeed, sir.
Absolutely.
All right. Quick FYI for those in the know, the events are going to be based on this theatrical cut. The road cut has a few scenes that are different, but it largely plays the same. This is only because I only have the access to the regular cut, not the road cut. I apologize for those who think it is so important to have those. Just Heads up. The end of days for mutant kind are coming, and only one X-Man can stop it. And to no one's surprise, it's Wolverine, because only he heals fast enough to withstand plot contrivances. He is sent back in time by Kitty Pryde, who has gained the power to send people through time somehow, to prevent the widespread use of the Sentinel program, started by Bolivar Trask. The Sentinels of 2020 were formed using Mystique's DNA by the Trump administration, hence why the mutants are fleeing to places like Russia or China. Totally safe there. With that, Wolverine finds himself in the groovy 70s. He locates Hank and Xavier, who haven't really done much in the way of teaching or leading or aging in about 10 years. Vietnam took the students, brought back the drugs, and Xavier's been without powers for some time now. Meanwhile, Mystique is sneaking around to find out where Trask is so she can kill him. Which is how she gets captured and is used to make the Sentinels to become top-tier fighters in the Marvel meta, just so you know. Wolverine convinces Xavier he's telling the truth because reasons, and they go to break Magneto out of whatever prison he's in, who is kind of important to stopping Mystique. But he's at the Pentagon prison for, killing the president, like you do. Wolverine grabs
he does.
Wolverine grabs a kid he knows as an adult in his time, Quicksilver, who single-handedly breaks the narrative by being able to solve everyone's problems instantly without any real issue. They free Magneto and set their sights on Paris to find Mystique before she can do a kill. Of course, they leave Quicksilver behind because otherwise there really isn't a movie. Don't worry, he'll be back in Age of Ultron to disappoint you further. Wolverine and friends get to Paris to stop the assassination, but things go awry. First, Trask reveals he has a mutant detector, which breaks the reality of the whole franchise to a point. We'll get to that later. Second, Wolverine gets some PTSD seeing Stryker, who will fuck up his world in the future. Third, Magneto basically says fuck this and attempts to kill Mystique to prevent the bad futures he was warned about from happening. Mystique, however, gets away, leaving some blood behind from her wounds. Is now in a frenzy over the reveal of mutants, and the President Nixon gives Trask the go-ahead to initiate the Sentinel Initiative. But Magneto breaks into the Sentinel facility and gives them a touch of metal so he can control them himself, like little wee puppets. Xavier restarts his powers and reaches out to his future self, who tells him that they're all basically fucked unless he gets over himself. Young Xavier, now motivated and totally off the drugs, uses Cerebro to try and reach out to Mystique, but only gets info on where she's going. Washington, D.C. Sentinels are revealed to the world at D.C. Mystique tries to kill Trask, but is stopped by Xavier. They are about to apprehend her when Magneto brings down the house. I'm sorry, I mean the stadium. Taking control of the Sentinels, he shoots at the crowd and sets his sights on the president. Wolverine is once again thrown off the set because why fucking not, right? Mystique then tricks Magneto, knocking him out. Then the choice falls to Mystique to kill Trask or not. Xavier asks her not to, but ultimately leaves it to her. But she can't. She walks away, taking off Magneto's helmet in the process, and Magneto escapes, and both Xavier and Hank return to the X Mansion. The government ceases the Sentinel program because reasons, and Wolverine wakes up in the present, and everyone is alive. There are no more Sentinels, the bad movies in the franchise have never happened, and he meets Xavier as they prepare to end the franchise with Logan. Meanwhile, in the post-credits, a young blue man and his 4 horse boys have other plans for this franchise. Oh man, things are about to get biblical.
Jesus.
4 horse boys, that's good. Oh, damn.
Oh, the horse boys.
So, gentlemen, with all that in mind, what'd you think?
Oh, man.
I feel some kind of way about them erasing my whole goddamn my previous trilogy, but that's neither here nor there, I suppose.
It's like the last, no, I guess not 4. The first 3 podcasts in this series we did had no purpose at all.
Yep.
They didn't exist.
Nope, not at all. You can't find them on YouTube. They're not there anymore.
I
I guess
what the hell was that?
I probably should ask real quick then. So did either of you guys watch the Road Cut at all?
I did not.
Me neither.
I heard about what was in it. I didn't feel like I missed anything.
I was gonna say, because I've heard about the Road Cut, and I know a little bit about it, but based on my history with the series, i.e. I don't like how they've handled Rogue, like, at all in this franchise, I didn't think I was going to be missing much.
Oh, yeah, it's terrible. Yeah, don't they just break her out?
They break her out of some, like, holding
mutant
facility
jail
or
or
whatever,
whatever,
and then she takes over for Kitty Pryde for, like, the last 30 minutes.
Oh.
Because Wolverine cuts her when he spazzes the fuck out.
Yeah. Oh, I guess that makes sense. I mean, it doesn't make sense, but yeah. Within the movie, it makes sense.
I mean, do y'all just want to jump into why the fuck Kitty can now send people back through time?
Yeah,
why is this a thing?
Let's talk about that.
Like, the only justification I have for it is she can phase through things, now she can phase through time. And I'm like, nope, I can't follow that logic. I can't.
Through time.
Can't.
Like, why...
No,
like,
I can't.
Why didn't she do that before? Like, all of a sudden, you could phase through time? Like, you just magically figured that out? I mean, that's not... that's so stupid.
No, I'm sorry, keep going, Robin.
Oh, no, it's just... Like, within the X-Men, realm, you have all these guys that can travel through time. Guys like Cable, Apocalypse, which is in the next movie, Bishop. Like, you have these guys that have... Forge is another guy. Like, they can travel through time. But,
Forge would have made this so much simpler.
Yeah. But, I mean, you literally have Bishop in the movie. And in Days of Future Past, he's the guy that goes back in time. Like, just do that. You can have these other people, but have him have a...
Well,
you know what I mean?
So, is it Bishop in the comics and the cartoon, or was it just the cartoon that was Bishop?
Well, I mean, it's not his actual power, but they have the power in the future, and Forge helps him go back in time. So, I mean, it doesn't even have to be Bishop. I mean, he's in this movie, and he's a future mutant.
But the reason I asked, though, is because I think in the comics, Kitty Pryde actually was the one who got sent in the past to meet Wolverine, if I remember right. Yeah.
She did. This is true. In the actual comic book storyline. However, it wasn't because of her powers.
Oh, no, not at all.
She just got sent back in time.
But again,
she didn't phase through time or
just
whatever.
Having Forge on hand to be like, hey guys, here's a time machine built. Have fun. That would have been all you needed.
Yeah. Have fun, yeah. Well, they wanted to have Wolverine because he's the big star of this franchise, which I get, because Hugh Jackman's awesome. But just, have somebody there be like, hey, we have a time travel thing. Not make it be Kitty, phasing him and having to hold him for however long. But I guess it was to, make drama around the Sentinels were going to find him, and they had to defend it until Wolverine could change the past. I mean, I get it.
I don't. I just don't. It's just that.
I'm sorry. I'm trying to understand.
I started this off saying that like the contrivances that this movie makes in order for it to actually work throws me off. This was like the most flagrant, and it happens in like the first 5 minutes of the movie. It's just like, all right, so for convenience sake, we need to send you through time somehow. Never mind the time traveler that we have over there. We're gonna have the girl who phases through walls have developed this reality-breaking power so that she can go ahead and send you through time. That's fine. That's cool. That's why any of the situations that you brought up just now would have worked perfectly fine. And I feel like, especially Bishop, they added him just to give like a fan servicey nod while featuring a cool ass mutant. And Bishop is cool as fuck. But you have him there, the actual time traveler, and he's not a part of the time travel equation. Because if they do anything else, then Kitty literally has nothing to do. What's she going to do against these Sentinels, man? What?
The space room?
Touched by him.
No, because they're magic Sentinels.
Oh,
and
they're the souped up version.
So she couldn't even phase through them.
Yeah. Well, aren't these supposed to be kind of like the Sentinels? Like, you remember the cartoon, the pink one that could like do all the crazy shit,
Sentinel or something like that?
Yeah, or whatever. And they were sent from the
Sentinel,
future. Yeah. I think that's what it was supposed to be. Kind of based around.
It makes sense. So what we've learned in rewatching these for this series is that they don't really follow the comics or the original source material in any real way. They take elements and pieces and they just kind of scatter them on a board and like,
True.
okay, we're going to see which of these pieces actually fit together okay, and just kind of do it. Because there's a lot of things
Or
that
just mash them
are
together.
ignored or left out or put together that don't actually work in the comics very well. Or compared to the comics, I should say. And I think these Super Sentinels are a little bit over the top. I like the original. So when you're in the past, we see the Sentinel designs of the 70s, the ones that are on the stage and everything. Those look really good.
Yeah.
They're very clean, very straightforward. I can understand what's going on there. And the new ones, the scaly-looking motherfuckers, I'm like, no, these just seem kind of fake and weird and bullshit.
Yeah.
Like, you could have them firing different kinds of weapons that affect different mutants. That'd be cool, but having them become an ice monster or a fire monster, like, come on now. That's ridiculous.
Well, it's basically ripping off, like, the Super Skrull, stealing all the powers.
Yeah, very much, actually.
But a robot.
Also, I
it's
really
actually
didn't like how the design of the... I really didn't like how the design of them actually mimicked the Destroyer from Thor. You guys catch that?
That was problematic for me too. I didn't like that.
I didn't realize that the first time, and then rewatching it,
I'm like, Loki helped design this shit, didn't he?
Yeah, their face just opens up and spits out a beam of fire. I'm like, oh great.
What we don't really know, guys, is when they combine this with the MCU, Trask will actually be Loki in disguise the whole time.
There we go.
See, if they had the balls to have Peter Dinklage with that silly-ass mustache turn around and become Tom Hiddleston, I would forgive every single
Absolutely. Like, not even a question.
All is forgiven.
So question about...
Oh, that'd be
question about the time travel mechanic here real quick, because we were kind of digging on that a bit. So,
yeah,
I'm not an expert in science. I think we've established this quite a bit. But it is my understanding within science fiction that the minute I send someone back in time, then whatever they do to change the future immediately takes effect to me in the present because I am experiencing time now and they've already done their thing. Now, either that or it creates an alternate timeline like Dragon Ball Z. Sure. One of those two scenarios. The way they handle time travel here is so hard for me to grab onto. I just cannot latch onto it at all.
Well, so they kind of they're trying to have their cake and eat it too with those two explanations that you gave. Yes, he is in the past, and while he's doing this, while he's under the two realities, as Kitty said, the two realities would be existing side by side, and the changes would not take effect until he woke up. That's bullshit, but that's okay, because if we don't have that, then we don't have a movie.
No, I get that. I get that, but it just feels it's just so weird to try to make sense of when they're explaining it, though. It seems so, like you said earlier, contrived.
That's what kills me. It's a bunch of bigger things like the time travel and the Sentinels, and smaller things that we'll get to later on that are like, look, I understand that without this, there's no movie, but the fact that you had to do it simply for the movie to make sense is bad. That's bad storytelling. Like, I have to have something ridiculous in place here so that this movie actually works. And it's just like, I feel like a bunch of people had a bunch of ideas for something that would be really, really cool, and the bigwigs were like, keep all of it. Make it work. Just keep everything. And they were like, well, fuck. Okay. How do we have future scenes and past scenes? We'll say that when he's back in time, it's actually an alternate universe, and the changes won't affect until he actually wakes up. Boom. Got it. How do we get him back to the Weapon X program? Shit. We'll tie him up with rebar and then drown his ass so that he's not present for the entire last fight. And then he'll get picked up by Stryker, which is why we have him in the movie, so that he can pick Wolverine up and tie up that plot thread. Got it.
Hold on a second. I have a problem with that explanation for Wolverine's Weapon X bullshit.
Oh, really? Let's get it.
I think Robbie knows where I'm going with this one. So, when he gets picked up
yes, I do.
by Stryker, we see Stryker turn to the camera for a brief second, and their eyes flash to Mystique's little, transformation eye color thing. So, how does he end up in Weapon X if that's not really Stryker? Where is Stryker for realsies? And how does any of Apocalypse's events regarding Wolverine happen if Mystique was able to get him and maybe even free him if she wanted to?
Well, I mean, we'll find out next week for Apocalypse that she didn't. Which means that if it was actually Mystique who had Stryker, it means that she straight up fucking sold Wolverine to Weapon X for no good goddamn reason.
Because she's a good guy now. Why would she do that?
I got a problem with that too. Yeah, literally, she's only a good guy because she's played by Jennifer Lawrence. It's horseshit. Mystique is not a good guy. Period.
No, I agree. She is, but in this instance,
ultimate X-Men villain.
Yeah, Mystique's also not a main character, but that's neither here nor there.
I mean,
no, we've got
Katniss
Everdeen. We've got to use this shit.
Capable.
Yeah.
I'm not okay. I'm not trying to degrade Jennifer Lawrence or anything like that. I think she's a fantastic actress, and I think her work has elevated the movies. What I don't agree with is the fact that Mystique as a character has such a central role in these films simply because they've got Jennifer Lawrence and they want her there for
that's the only reason.
Power.
Only reason. Yeah, it's always bothered me.
Man.
This one, like in this movie, okay. In this movie, I actually am not too mad at it because they've made the crux of the story trying to convince Mystique to not go down the path of evil. Okay, sure, I'll buy that. I'll buy that. When we get to X-Men Apocalypse, we'll have a whole different discussion on why she's still a main character. But for now, it's Jennifer Lawrence. It's star power. I would much rather have gotten more scenes with Charles and Eric, but that's cool too.
Absolutely.
Aaron, can I just jump in quick on the time travel thing? Specific for this movie.
Derailed, so go ahead.
Yeah, no, it's okay. I wanted to put my 2 cents in. Specific to this movie, they built it around Kitty's phasing to the past. So I understand. I mean, it doesn't make sense, but I understand within the realm of this movie that because of this power set that doesn't make sense, they could have 2 timelines at the same time. Mm-hmm. So since they designed it that way, it makes sense within the realm of the movie. But to answer your original question, no, that's not how sci-fi time travel works. It's either one of 2 things, like you originally stated. So, kind of, I don't know if I answered it, but
I think we're on the same page. It's definitely trying to get all in one thing, and it's not working very well.
So I have a. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
To me, it feels like it's trying to create artificial tension.
Oh yeah, I mean that's the only reason. Yeah.
So I have a gripe, and I'm not even sure if it's on the list of questions, but it's just one of the things that really, really irritated me. Charles not having his powers in the past. Can we talk about that for like an hour straight?
What? It made zero. I remember seeing that originally. I'm like, what the fuck?
So him giving him this drug addict storyline where he's trying to numb himself and get rid of his powers. I get that. And you know what? I can dig that storyline because it gives new depth. It gives more depth to Charles Xavier as a character. We saw him just get betrayed by one of his greatest friends. Like the country's at a war that it shouldn't be in, and he has the power to like sense what everybody else is feeling, and he just wants to escape. That's some good character shit. I'm 100% down with that. How in the fuck can you tell me, though, that the drug that stops his psychic powers also lets him walk again? That I need to explain.
That makes zero sense.
That particular combination definitely seems a little contrived, yeah.
It hurts. It hurts me so much. It's just like, stop it. That literally makes no sense, guys. It was set up just to have this whole like, well, if I get rid of my powers and everything's better, look, I can even magically walk again. So if you want me to have my powers, then I have to give up not only my peace of mind, but I have to give up my mobility. And it's such a hard choice, and I really don't want to make that choice. So I have to somehow speak through this hairy Canadian to talk to my future self? What the fuck? It was very contrived.
Yeah, that scene also didn't really add up, because, I mean, you couldn't send Xavier's mind into the past to solve the problem, but young Xavier could fling himself into the future through somebody who's not psychic to speak to his future self.
And like I said, I love that scene. James McAvoy
great.
And James McAvoy.
It's a good scene, but it makes no sense.
Patrick Stewart, I could just watch them just sit in a room and act at each other for 3 hours. That is gladly worth the cost of admission. But again, the movie bends itself over backwards to contrive these silly ass reasons why these scenes should take place. And they're good scenes, but they literally should not be there. They should not exist. Yeah. And the movie just kind of contorts itself in silly ass ways to make it so. Make it so. Did you get it? Did you get it?
Okay. Do we want to continue down the?
I had a bunch of minor gripes. I'm sorry.
No, I know. I just want to steer away into something a little more positive. Just for a blip.
We should talk about positive things.
Yeah.
So Quicksilver, do you like him? Do you hate him? Does he break the film beyond reason? What are your guys' thoughts?
Man, his scene is cool as hell. Watching that for the first time, I remember in the theater, I was just like, this is such a baller scene. It's such a cool way to show a speedster and his powers and him just making stuff happen and playing it to music. It was just something that hadn't been done really. And I loved it. However, as a comic fan, and I'm a big X-Men fan, having him just randomly show up and me as a comic fan knowing that he's Magneto's son, and then I don't know, that whole thing was just weird. It's this whole off story that we just kind of throw to the side. And then they bring him in, he does this cool thing, gets Magneto out of that Pentagon prison, and then he just hangs out at home. What the hell?
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah.
Sorry guys, I gotta play more Pac-Man.
Yeah, it was just so bizarre, but that scene was awesome. I mean, it was one of the best parts of the movie, for sure.
It might be the saving grace of the film, honestly.
Yeah, I wouldn't...
I like it...
One second.
Oh, go ahead. I think there's a slight delay whenever we're talking, Ryan, between you and me, because I feel like Robbie and I are in sync, but I think, I don't know, I think it's just a connection.
It's
I really
all
think
my fault.
Anyway, I'll be real quick. I like Quicksilver, but I'm also a big fan of Flash and all the other speedster characters.
Yeah.
It's kind of my jam. Yeah. And I think that, logically speaking, that he breaks the narrative of the film. If they kept him in there any longer, then there would not have been a movie. It's like every other element of this film needing to bend over backwards to make sure a movie still happens. It's what it is. But I think the scene's really fun, and I don't think it's a bad thing they redid it in the next one. We'll get to that later. I I will say he set the bar really high for other speedsters in cinema and film, and I don't think anyone's quite matched what this scene did. None of the other Flash, Quicksilver, or whatever's have been bad, but none of them have been on this level per se. So
Yeah.
I think that this is definitely a high bar that I'm looking forward to seeing if a film Flash can beat this at some point.
Yeah, that'd be interesting.
TV Flash
Yeah.
might have already done it, but movie Flash, not yet.
Well, I think one of the big things that I love about this scene, aside from just how fucking unexpected it was, because it absolutely took me by surprise, and I loved that. But I think the big thing that I really loved about it was that they didn't let him be too broken, and they gave him one scene like it, because when I think of the Flash, and I fully recognize that he is a broken character, it's because super speed also equates to a bunch of other powers related to super speed. How he manages to throw bolts of lightning, I'm still not too sure on. But they let the Flash get to be god tier because he's supposed to be amongst the gods with the DC universe. With this movie, I felt like they just said Quicksilver is stupidly fast. That's it. We're gonna give him one scene to ball out amongst a bunch of other normal people, and he's going to be a god amongst them for this one scene, and that's cool. Now, in the next scene, in the next movie, you also get a similar scene to this, but you also see him fail. You also see him come short. You see him go up against like Apocalypse and get wrecked. And they do a good job of letting him be awesome, but not letting him be a god amongst the other people that are already supposed to be really, really powerful. So I think they struck a really good balance with him.
That's fair. That's fair. I think he's very powerful in very specific situations like this and like the explosion scene in the next movie. But I think definitely in straight up combat, he's like Sonic the Hedgehog. Good, but not the best character you can bring to your fight.
Right. And I think like allowing him to be good but not stupidly broken is really important.
I think, Ryan, your comparison with the Flash, I think is great because, the Flash has basically all these other powers and Quicksilver's just fast. And when he's in a scene like this, you get to see how awesome that is. But, in the later film, you get to see that it's a great power, but that's it. You don't have another skill set. So that's great. That's a great breakdown. I like that.
For completion's sake, I don't know if either of you guys watched the series at all, but on Screw Attack, now known as just Death Battle, they actually did do a video of Flash versus Quicksilver, and the breakdown is more or less what Ryan breaks down, is that while both are incredibly fast and have broken some incredible records in their respective universes, Flash is literally speed personified, and, well, comparing anything to him is like just a joke.
Very true.
Speaking of jokes, there was a JFK drop in here where they said that he may have been a mutant. So just a fun little thought experiment. What mutant power do you think JFK may or may not have had?
Fucking some type of hypnotism or just like raw charisma. I'm guessing
kind of
something
like
along those lines.
The guy, is it Wingard? Jason Wingard, that can make illusions.
Oh,
you know what I'm talking about, Aaron? And,
the little girl that Professor X spends the whole of X-Men United with. Yeah, that one.
Well,
yeah.
Something similar to that, but like what you said, Ryan, where the power of persuasion, getting people to, follow his lead, like, that sort of thing, whether it's, people voting for him or women like Marilyn Monroe, I don't know.
So maybe a less powerful version of Purple Man's power.
Yeah, kind of like that. Yeah.
God, that's horrible, but yeah.
I know. But yes. That's interesting.
Kind of gross. I don't want to think about that anymore. Moving on. Okay. Let's see here. I'm trying to think of what next one I want to hit up real quick. Okay. Why does the government cease the Sentinel program? Sure, Mystique saved them, on a whim, but another mutant had almost killed everyone. And what exactly was Trask marked for or considered considered to be treason? Like, I didn't catch that anywhere.
That Trask was I honestly I couldn't find you. I have no idea.
I think, and I could be wrong, that this Sentinel program wasn't fully approved by the government, and then having this huge spectacle of them going crazy. Basically, Nixon could just be like, hey, we never approved this, and then blame it all on Trask. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I mean, and Nixon was a paranoid man. Even if you explained that Magneto took control of them, he might not be so apt to believe it.
So,
yeah,
even though
that makes sense. I could follow that.
Yeah.
I think it's a combination of that that and the fact that like Magneto was actually able to just take them over, but also like the crux of the movie is predicated on the idea that it's the study of Mystique's DNA and powers that really puts the Sentinels over the edge and beyond just a combat robot, because we've got mutants that can fight, that like we've got mutants that can fight robots all the live long day, and this dude who controls metal literally just took over the whole squadron of them. But without Mystique and her ability, like their ability to nullify every mutant power that they come into contact with, I think the Sentinel program doesn't get off the ground, or at least that's the central conceit of the movie.
That can be true too. Yeah,
makes sense.
I don't know. It doesn't get explained, so neither of us are wrong. So, answer your question, Aaron.
Yeah, I can feel them both. I like them both.
Yeah.
Okay. While most X-Men characters in First Class are dead before the events of this film, would you have liked to see any of the other ones return that didn't show up in this movie?
I was a big fan of Azazel from the first one.
I was thinking that, yeah.
Yeah, just because, I mean, it's like a bad version of Nightcrawler, and I always liked Nightcrawler's skill set, or power set, or whatever you call it.
I was super happy to see Nightcrawler in the next movie.
So, it just would have been cool to have him around, yeah. So.
Yeah, I could agree with that one. I think most of the other ones are kind of forgettable, if I'm being honest.
Well, Sebastian Shaw is a awesome villain in the comics, but even though I love Kevin Bacon, I don't know, his character wasn't great. I don't think, personally.
Did you not dig his rendition of Shaw in First Class?
I don't know. I guess my version of Shaw just would have been a little bit different. I mean, I still liked it. I mean, I think First Class is a great film.
I mean, Kevin Bacon's an American hero.
Yes. I mean, I love Kevin Bacon, but no, I don't know. I mean, he would have been cool too, but that whole scene with Magneto in that movie was awesome, so.
Oh, yeah.
So.
I was surprised they didn't have Banshee make an appearance anywhere. I know that he didn't show up in here, and I think there was an illusion that he died sometime in between the films. I'm just like,
oh yeah,
it's kind of a random throwaway you guys did there. He actually could have still been kind of cool.
Yeah.
I wonder if it's because they weren't able to negotiate getting him in, or because they just didn't want him in. Maybe just like with the budget of this already like stupidly packed cast, they're like, no, we literally can't afford any more actors, so no, he died in between the films.
It's like Simpsons when Poochie goes to his home planet.
Yeah.
And Poochie went to his home planet.
I have to go now. My planet needs
perfect.
Me. Yeah, that's what
perfect.
It is. Oh, I love that episode. All right.
I don't know if I have any other questions I want to jump into, really. I guess the last one I could bring up here before we move on is which X-Men death impacted you the most in this film and why? And which of these X-Men should have been given more screen time, you think? I mean, obviously the answer for me is Bishop. I'm gonna go
I think Bishop is a consensus of should have had more screen time. Let's see, Death.
I would
I don't know,
have
like-
wanted Bishop to have more screen time on the stipulation that they actually do something with this character outside of just show Bishop doing cool ass shit. Because Bishop
That's
as a
true.
character, like,
Yeah.
is really, really awesome. Like, his ability
Yeah.
to absorb energy from other mutants and, like, cast them out and be, like, this badass future warrior, that's boss. But
Yeah.
Bishop as a character himself is really, really cool. So if we got more screen time, I would have wanted him to have a bigger
Yep.
place in the story.
Yeah.
I
I think Iceman is the one from me in the future timeline when he gets blown up with the lasers, just because he was actually featured in all the other films, and you got to like grow up with him and know him as a character.
Damn, that's a good answer.
Because
Yeah.
because the other ones in the future that died, like we literally met them that movie. Besides Storm,
well,
I guess.
except for actually also Colossus too. He was in there.
Oh, he got like ripped in half.
Oof.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, he
Yeah,
got
that's a
wrecked.
brutal way to die. Yeah, but I don't know. I always liked Iceman as a character, and I mean, I don't know about in the movies. He doesn't really get a ton of screen time, but
Yeah.
comic wise, he's always a favorite of mine. So I guess that's maybe why it impacted me more. But I mean, we grew up with him in this series of movies too.
Yeah.
So
I could
That's
counter
fine.
that. I think seeing Iceman's head get decapitated and then crushed is a little fucking disarming.
yeah,
Yeah, no, I think we're on consensus here with Iceman, because that was like this movie chose to get brutal at some times. I was just like, damn.
Oh, yeah.
Like I wasn't mad at
Surprisingly
it. It just took me by surprise so hard.
so.
Man, okay. All right, guys.
So before I move on, is there anything else you wanted to bring up for discussion here real quick?
No, I mean, like I said, like I have a lot of gripes about the movie. I do, but like I feel like it overshadows some of the really, really good stuff about the movie. Like you get to see James McAvoy and Michael Fassbender reprise these fucking masterful roles. You get a real cool ass use of Wolverine, where he comes back and is like super ripped in like his
Oh, yeah.
younger body, but he also gets to like give shit to all these other people because he knows them from so far in the future, and just having him like be less serious Wolverine with all of the other guys was a lot of fun. That was a lot of fun. The idea of like doing pretty much another period piece, and exploring the things around the 70s, the Vietnam War,
Yeah.
like bringing mutant registry, like bringing like the Sentinel program to light, and exploring these anti-mutant feelings amongst the populace as mutants start coming to light. These are really cool things that the movie does, and I think they do them very, very well. They just bend over backwards to do them all, and I would have wished that they had stuck to a couple of things and made a more solid storyline to get all of that.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's really good. Well said, Ryan. A few things I wanted to add is I thought it was cool they had some shout outs to the actual original storyline. One of them that we didn't mention is that Wolverine and Storm are together in the future, which is a big part of that storyline. I thought that was cool that they added it in there. I mean, it was just a fan service thing. No, I think it was just the problem with this movie, like overall, is that you're trying to fix everything that was wrong all within 2.5 hours, which, you know, time travel, you can do that. I mean, we've talked about Flashpoint for DC fixing everything.
Yep.
But it's just, like you said, Ryan, it's just unfortunate that it takes away from what could have been a really great story just within this movie. Because you have so many great actors in this movie. It would have made a awesome movie, especially when you can have the original OG Xavier and Patrick Stewart interact with James McAvoy. I mean, that's so badass. Like, that's awesome. Like, just as a fan to see that, and you had to like bend over backwards to make it happen in a really weird way. And there could have been a better way to do it.
Yeah, 100% agree. I guess so. I guess that brings me to the question that I think I just like put out of my head because I didn't really want to talk about it, but I have to talk about it. I need to ask. So, how do you guys feel about them retconning the entire fucking previous trilogy?
I'm mixed on it.
Yeah.
I think our reviews, Ryan, as we've discussed, kind of break it down for me. I am definitely thinking that most of the films up to until we hit First Class are very middle of the road. Like, they're serviceable X-Men films, but they all have their own like little bits of problems that they drag along with them. And I think a lot of that has to do with just they're all trying to take on so many different storylines and characters all at once. And I think we said it last week. First Class is the first film in the whole franchise, and probably the only one, that shed all of the baggage. It narrowed down its scope, and it told a very precise, well-crafted story. And I think Days of Future Past falls in the same trap the first trilogy did. It's trying to juggle so many things at once, and it has all these great scenes and great moments, but they're connected in the most flimsy bullshit ways that it makes no goddamn sense.
Yeah, that's really well said, Aaron. For me personally, like, it does kind of make me sad because the original X-Men's like the first superhero movie. I remember I had it on VHS. Like,
yep.
Ditto.
That was still.
So did I, man. So did I.
You know, like, and I was so pumped. I got it for, I think it was either my birthday or Christmas. I can't remember which. But I mean, I about wore that thing out. I watched it so many times. And, you know, X-Men 2 was really awesome. Like, it just built on that first movie. X-Men 3 sucked. Wolverine Origins sucked.
Oh, God.
You know.
Wolverine Origins did not exist. Don't bring that slander
guys.
into this
Deadpool
podcast.
fixed it in number 2.
I'm sorry. Yeah, that's true. That's true. He did fix it. So I'm glad that those don't exist in the timeline, so to speak, anymore. But like, X-Men's like really one of my first, you know, superhero movie experiences, because I was too young to go to Blade in the theater, but I could go to X-Men in the theater.
And it's a couple years until
That was
Spider-Man
awesome.
comes out.
Like, I was so jacked. Yeah, and Spider-Man wasn't until 2002. Yeah, so I mean, which I went to that in the theater, and I was really pumped for that too. So, yeah, X-Men just holds a very special place in my heart, just because it's like the first superhero movie I really. It's not the first one, I guess. I guess I went to Batman and Robin, even though that was terrible in the theater.
Well, like I told,
I did.
Like I told Ryan,
Sorry, I'm winding around here.
Well, like I told Ryan when we were doing our Captain Marvel podcast, I saw Captain Marvel, and that same week I was watching X-Men for the podcast, and that 17 to 20 year gap between the two films is just so fucking mind blowing. Just how far we've come since those days.
Yeah, yeah, it's crazy, man, to think about just how much the genre has changed and how much these movies have changed. Yeah, that's crazy. That's crazy to think about. Yeah. So
I mean,
but you know what's not? Go ahead.
I was just gonna say that you know, First Class, like, I love First Class in the fact that it's able to do something really new without just completely, like, it almost exists on its own, like, separate from the original trilogy. Like, there's a part of me that kind of wishes that they had just made it a straight up reboot.
Yeah.
Like, I love the homages that they make to the old trilogy. I loved, like, as contrived as they were, I loved the interactions between the new and the old cast. And while I really, really disliked Apocalypse, spoilers for next week, it has probably the best homage to the old trilogy, like, I've ever seen. So I suppose I'm trying to have my cake and eat it too, because there's a part of me that wants it to be separate, but I also but I liked the fact that it went to kind of tie it to it. I just wish that it didn't have to completely eradicate what came before in order to really break new ground. Like, if that makes sense.
And that's really well said too, Ryan. My question for you guys with this is, maybe we should save that for next week. I was just going to talk about with the X-Men within Fox ending. That's a really complicated question. Like, how do you want them to go forward with this X-Men universe? Like, keeping.
I have an answer.
Should I stop? I'm sorry.
I have an answer for this, but I'm going to save it for the next episode because we are running a little long.
Okay.
We are running a little long.
Okay, I'm sorry. Well, yeah, we'll talk about it next week.
Because I was writing this the other day, and I have a perfect answer for it. But before we get up to that,
great.
Mailbag real quick. If y'all want to reach out to us, you have Tumblr, Twitter, Facebook. You can comment down there. Tell us what you think about Days of Future Past, what timeline you prefer, how you would handle moving X-Men to the MCU, and how long you think our podcast should actually be. And if you want to reach out to us directly, you can go to our email. Ryan, what is that email?
That email is twistedcontrivances@gmail.com. Sorry. That is evacstation@gmail.com.
Thank you, Ryan. And I would be remiss if we missed this next segment, because I have someone here to compete with Ryan for our new.
Oh no!
For our new segment, Robbie, that you need to get in on. It is X-Men or bullshit.
Oh, I like.
You're gonna love this shit, Robbie. You're gonna love it.
Replacing our trivia segment for just a wee bit. Is this an X-Men character or is this a superhero parody?
Okay. I like it. Okay.
How it works for those playing at home, I give you the character name, and I give you what their power may or may not actually be. And then you just tell me whether you think it's X-Men or bullshit.
This is fun. I like it. Okay.
All right. Number 1. I have Eye-Boy. Has multiple eyes all over his body. Can perceive radiation, electrical flows, magic energy, and other invisible forces.
Bullshit. There's no way.
No, that's bullshit, man.
Okay, so I got BS for both of you guys. I'll read back the answers at the end, so just hang tight.
Okay.
Number 2, Clubber Girl. Super strength and durability. Gains more strength as she fights, but it subsides as she rests.
I think it's an X-Men.
Got one for X-Men. Ryan, what are you thinking?
Nah, it's too straightforward. That's too
straightforward.
Okay.
He says.
I'm gonna go bullshit.
Too straightforward, he says. We're going to find out in a little bit. Number 3, Shark Girl. Can transform into a shark. Can survive indefinitely underwater and on land. Goes into a frenzy when tasting blood.
Is this a parody on the Nickelodeon movie with Shark Boy and whatever the hell that was?
Shark
I'm
Boy
gonna say
and
bullshit.
Lava Girl.
Yeah, Lava Girl. That's what I was thinking of. I'm gonna say bullshit.
It's close. It almost seems like an actual mutation because it moves humanity towards an already pre-existing organism on the planet. I'm gonna go with an X-Man. I'm gonna go with
Ryan is taking an X-Man. All right. Moving on to the next one. Number 4, Stretch Dude. Malleable like rubber and resist electricity, but more susceptible to extreme temperatures.
Bullshit. Bullshit. You're not going to have a Reed Richards ripoff in that. No.
I got bullshit from Ryan. What did you say, Robbie?
I mean, that's a good question because this obviously exists because there's guys like Mr. Fantastic and in DC Universe there's a couple. Stretch Dude. That's such a dumb name though. I'm going to go bullshit.
Gonna go bullshit. Okay, that's number 4. Number 5, Scorpion Boy. looks like a humanoid winged ant scorpion. Sorry, winged ant / scorpion. Can cling to walls, fly, and has both pincers and a stinging tail.
I'm gonna go X-Men. Fuck it.
I feel like he picked the stupidest names just to throw us off. It's not like Bishop or fucking Sunspot or Forge. No, it's just like Eye-Boy, Shark Girl. What the fuck?
Yeah, were these like the D-list writers that came up with these?
I went with some of the most obscure characters for some of these lists. Ryan can attest to some of the ones I've done.
Yeah, he is. He's. Oh man, you should have been here for last week. It was X-Men or Sex Position.
Oh, that's fun.
That was a good one.
If you guys are interested in hearing that one, go back to last week's because it's pretty damn funny.
First class episode was a good episode.
Yeah, I can't wait to listen.
I will go with bullshit because that just sounds
okay, your
little
answers.
too on the nose.
Your answers are all over the place, gentlemen. I love this. I love it. Okay, I have a 6th one, and then I have a 7th one for a tiebreaker if we need it. So we're gonna hold on to that one. So number 6, Megaton Man. Can see through solid objects, like X-rays, can create explosions with a snap, and emits low-level radiation when enraged.
Megaton Man, huh?
I'm gonna call bullshit because that actually sounds too OP. Like, honestly.
Yeah, snap your fingers.
Fucking Roy Mustang in my X-Men comic? Get out of here. No, I'm gonna call bullshit on that one.
I think I'm gonna go bullshit on that too. It just snapping your fingers. That'd be baller power. Just bam.
All right, so we've got 6, and like I said, we'll say the 7th for a tiebreaker if we need it. Number 1, going back, and we'll see our answers here. Eye-Boy, power with multiple eyes over his body. That is, in fact, an X-Man.
Damn it. How many issues has he been in? 0?
He's a younger one, maybe a newer one. I like I said, I scoured the entire list of X-Men characters from publication history to see what existed. He was in there.
He only exists in concept art or some shit.
Number 2,
I'll be damned. I just look it up. You slide it.
I'm gonna laugh here, Robbie, because you didn't get this one. This is in fact bullshit.
Yes.
I laugh, Robbie, because Stretch Dude and Clobber Girl is a Simpsons episode at parody.
Yes, it is. I was thinking in my head, I heard it somewhere, and I was like, "Oh, that must mean it's an X-Men." Damn it! I'm mashing my Simpsons stuff in my head. Damn it!
I love you, Robbie. I'm glad I got you with one of these. Number 3.
You did. You got me.
Number 3, Shark Girl is also an X-Man.
Aha!
So right,
you're right, Ryan.
So right now the score is 2-0. Let's see if Robbie can catch up here real quick.
I think we're pretty similar in the rest.
Pretty similar. Number 4, Stretch Dude. You both called bullshit. You got that one there. Good work. Number 5 was Scorpion Boy. Robbie gets the point because he is an X-Man.
What?
Yeah.
The kid with the pincers?
Yep.
And the... Okay. Good.
And then
See? This is rigged.
Yep. And then number 6, both of you guys get it. Megaton Man is actually a comic book character from another whole cut franchise. I don't remember what it was, but it's definitely not an X-Man.
All right.
Final score is Ryan 4, Robbie 3.
Ah. What was the 7th one? Do we have to save that for next week?
I'll give you the 7th one. I'll give it to you.
Okay.
Because next episode is going to be a whole different theme. To believe me.
Okay.
Number 7 was Whiz Kid. Also called technoforming, he can rearrange parts of machinery made of metal, glass, or plastic into various items or weapons of his own creation.
I would go with X-Man on that one.
I think that's a comic book character, but I don't think it's an X-Man.
It is actually an X-Man.
Yes!
Damn it. Ryan, you're scary good at this. I like it.
That's good stuff.
All
right. Well, we're going to close out real quick with a quick review roundup to decide what this movie is going to be ranked on the scale of platinum to bullshit and all the colors in between. Robbie, have you been on an episode where we ranked an episode or ranked a movie with our review scale?
Not that scale.
Okay. So a quick heads up.
No.
We have the ranks of platinum, which is basically a perfect movie in every shape and form. gold, which is like an instant classic. Then you have silver, bronze, stone, dirt, and shit at the very bottom.
All right.
I think, for an example, we ranked our Ant-Man movie. The most recent ones we did, Ant-Man was bronze. I think we had, what was it? Captain Marvel as silver, Ryan? Is that right? And then I think for X-Men, the only platinum we've done recently was First Class of either bronze or silver, I think. Kind of give you an idea where we've been at so far. So Ryan, since Robbie's first to the plate here with first time here with the ranking system, why don't you show him how it's done? What do you think?
This one's rough because the overarching plot is really, really silly and full of like made up contrivances, but embedded into the movie are a lot of really, really awesome things. Really great characters, really great story moments, really great action sequences. It kind of, I feel like the good and the bad even out in this movie, which is really irritating for me. But because it balances out, I'm gonna give it a bronze, which is a big step down from First Class. But I feel like it's because First Class really did its own thing, and this movie misstepped when it tried to correct all of the sins of the days.
I don't think you're wrong. Quick into your mind, so that way Robbie gets the full spectrum here. I, however, will go a step above you and go silver. And not because I want to get this... I don't want to be too kind to the movie. I cannot go any higher.
Really?
And the reason I did this is because, like you said, there are very good, very isolated scenes that work really well. It's acted very well. And there are a lot of good moments in here that are definitely worth checking out and definitely worth watching. But it is a mess in between everything. So it is definitely something I'd recommend, but not something that you have to necessarily go out of your way to see, because it's flawed. It's flawed in interesting ways, unlike some films that are flawed in very, very boring ways, and we'll get to that later, I think.
All right. I think I agree with you, Aaron. You said silver, right? Okay. I agree with that. I enjoy watching this movie for a lot of the same reasons we talked about, going through this, that, it has great scenes in it. It has a lot of fun ideas, cool characters being together. There's a lot of bad things, but they were trying to fix a lot of the wrongs that happened, specifically with movies like X-Men: The Last Stand. And I enjoyed the hell out of it, but, it's not the best movie I've ever seen. But I'd watch it again.
Very fair. So that is it for Days of Future Past. For everyone watching or listening, be sure to tune in next week for X-Men Apocalypse, followed by X-Men Dark Phoenix, or Dark Phoenix, whatever they choose to call it. And then after the X-Men season is done, get ready for Rage in the Cage, a look at Nick Cage films. That'll be fun.
Yes. I cannot.
I was looking forward to Face Off.
That's going to be
all
good stuff.
smiles all the time.
So thank you all for listening, and we'll see you after the credits.